council decision rather than a small group of people.
It was a specific request within the letter of reimbursement of expenses.
What about the actual...
The actual maintenance
schedule. The proposal is just to deal with the letters, is to get the... I won't say the complaints, the observations from members of the public, to get them sorted and looked at, and to come up with a coherent plan of what we're doing.
Jonathan?
Just quickly, when the Green Subcommittee reports back to the Open Space Committee, they haven't got power to decide, so anything that comes back there has to come back to council anyway.
That's all.
For compilation.
Fair enough. Great. Proposal on the table. Does it have a second there?
No.
Then, all those in favour of sending those letters back to committee? It's carried.
One way
Consultation, I think. It is. Nobody doing something like getting opinions first.
And just the letter to which Diane referred.
Sorry?
The letter to which Diane referred,
Yeah.
the abusive letter, shall we say, should really go back to the staffing committee.
So we'll send that one to the staffing committee. Is everybody happy to do that?
I'm interested in this letter because I know the person involved.
Get your facts straight, Jonathan.
Person interested. And because I'm chair of the staffing committee,
Just send it.
when this item,
Sorry?
if this item comes up in front of the staffing committee, I will not be taking part in the conversation.
So we have a proposal to send the letter complaining about a member of our staff to the staffing committee. Can we have a second for that?
Can I just ask what purpose it will do going
any
back
other...
there?
Sorry?
Can I ask, just before we vote on it, can I ask what
Sorry,
purpose will it do going back there?
It involves
It relates to allegations made against one of our members of staff. So it should be discussed by the staffing committee. It follows due process.
once you know the full story, Miles, you
Well,
will
honestly, on
know.
this letter, personally, if I was accepting this letter sent to me, I'd send it back. Because the tone of it is unacceptable. To speak to somebody in a letter in such a tone, it's horrendous. For me, it should be sent back to reword it, and then we will accept it with reworded.
You're not
Because
talking
because-
school children
because-
here, Jonathan.
Can you go through the chairman, will you?
Yeah, okay.
But the tone of this is awful.
So
we shouldn't accept it.
That's
We
fine.
have a proposal on the table. Do you want to amend it?
To not accept it, or to send it back to be reworded.
So it could go, are you suggesting that it goes to the staffing committee after it's been amended?
Resubmitted in a correct manner.
You're going to write it.
Was that you know?
I will.
Do we have a second for that?
Do we not, just slow down, do we not have the proposal first? Or was your proposal?
We had a proposal which was to send it to staffing committee,
Right.
and that's been amended. Well, there's an amendment on the table to...
Was it seconded?
No, it wasn't seconded.
I seconded it.
Right, so it was seconded.
I seconded
So
it.
we wanted to amend it, it was an amendment.
Can I just have an explanation? Is Councillor Allen saying we send this back to the writer?
To the sender,
Well,
ask us to reword.
To the writer.
What
I think
I'll
you
clarify.
need to clarify what kind of wording you put on it to send it back.
Can I just say, try not to take finance criticism, but one procedure is, I think we have a proposal to send it to the staffing committee, and now we're having a proposal to send it back to the person. I think the amendment negates the original proposal.
No, because I'm not.
No, it does, because it's something completely different.
If you listen, you'll explain.
Don't talk to
So
me
what's
like that.
what the amendment? What the amendment is that this is sent back to the Senate. Ask them to reword it politely and correctly, and then when it's returned and it's written correctly, then it can go to staffing committee.
I'd like to make an amendment to the original proposal. My amendment to the amendment is that the amendment be discarded because it negates the original proposal. For those, I'm not sure, for those of you cannot make an amendment to a proposal if it completely alters the original proposal. So that's my proposal, is to disregard the amendment.
Do you need a
Sure.
seconder for that?
You are technically correct.
So we'll vote on one then.
No, so I'll withdraw my amendment, then that's
If it's the
No
advice of
discussion.
the clerk and the will of the chair, and it's not right, then I will withdraw the amendment to the amendment.
And the amendment is
with amendments withdrawn.
So we're voting on the original proposal, which is to send it to the
This
staff.
one has done that. Tell me then.
All those in favour of sending it to the staff committee? 1, 2, 3. Any against?
Sorry, I missed that.
Sorry, we'll take the vote again. So the proposal sounds, it seems that this meeting is intent on referring everything on. But the proposal is that we refer the letters to the staffing committee, particular letters to the staffing
Excuse
committee.
me, John, could you not hold your own meeting?
It's being seconded. All those in favour of sending it to the staffing committee? 1, 2, 3.
Send it to staffing.
Sending to staffing committee. Sending to staffing committee. Agreed with all. 6 against. 3 carried. So I'm just mindful of time. We have quite a few things to consider in confidential session. Can we take, Jonathan, do you think 10.3 and 10.4 will take long?
No. It's briefing from me and then a yes or no.
Change the name, John.
Right, and with regarding the Anston Stones Wood, it's a huge area which I think is too big for the Open Space Committee to look after. So I believe we need a separate group to look after Anston Stones Wood building, just on its own. And but then take advice from that naturally with the Woodland Trust and the Borough Management Plan, which even though it's 2004, it's still valid to today for guidance. There's more than that. And for advice from anybody else. So it doesn't bar anyone from being on the group. They can't decide anything. You can advise the council the best way to look after the woods. And that's the terms of reference. So either yes or
You
no.
can't.
Yeah.
Could you use the microphone, please, Stuart? Can you hear me? Can you hear?
I'm going to vote against the I'm going to vote against the Anston Stones Wood Advisory Group. We already stated, just been referred to, it's already been stated we have an Open Spaces Committee in place to do this job already. Now, the statement you just made, Councillor Ireland, about it's too big. The Stones Wood is too big for the Open Spaces Committee. I find that quite confusing because the Open Spaces Committee has never met there. So what you're proposing is to
No, it didn't.
right, what you're proposing is to start a new advisory group to a committee that's never even had an opportunity to discuss what we're supposed to be discussing. So in effect, we're just making another group up. But can I go a bit further down on your terms of reference? Did you write these terms of reference yourself? Did you write the terms of reference?
Well, what do you think?
Well, I'm asking, see, why is it when you ask a question you don't want to answer it? Right, I'll assume you've written them yourself. Right, the first thing is, why would you have non-councillors on the advisory group? And the second, on a quorum, you put not applicable. Well, you can't have a meeting unless you have a quorum, regardless of what it is. Because you could end up in a situation with two non-councillors making recommendations to the council with no oversight and stops and starts, as it were. So I'm going to vote against this because all we're doing is just doubling up what we've already got.
John, can I just...
Could
I'm
you use
going
the
back in date,
microphone?
yes, okay. Go back in time, before we had a council which we didn't fall out. We had an Anston Stones Wood group which was comprised of about 10 councillors and 20 people who weren't councillors. We had experts from treeing, from animals, from water pollution, and we gleaned the advice from these people who were specialists. So are we going to bar ourselves from having any outside information? We're crazy. I don't ask me anything about keeping water clean or cutting trees down. I don't understand it, but there are people who do, and we should use their knowledge. And we're not. So that's all, as I see it. This proposal is to allow us to get somebody onto the committee who would be of use to us.
The open space has come to that.
Well, you've got one for the green, haven't you? And you've got one for
Well,
the
what?
races.
No, all of them are the open
Thank you,
spaces.
Chair. We're splitting it, one committee or a group or whatever you want to term it as, into two, and membership of those can be any councillor, and councillors, you know, as they do at the moment, flit into and out of different meetings of different groups. To create another one in an already complex calendar for councillors, I think is perhaps a retrograde step. And I, solely for that reason, I would not support it. So, Stuart and then Colin.
Can I just go back to what John was just saying about we need these people to give us advice? We're now nearly 18 months, 2 years into the council. This so-called advisory group, or Stones Water Committee as it were, previously, and the open spaces, it's never met, and it's had no detrimental effect on the Stones Wood itself, as far as I'm aware. Yes, at some time we would probably need expert advice, but I see no reason why it should be as a normal committee, and if and when the Open Spaces Committee require advice, they will write to the appropriate people. We've got all the names of the people who deal with the bats, the fungi people, so we can use their knowledge. Just to go back as well is, that committee, the Anston Stones Advisory Group, was an unwieldy committee. There was people sat there who probably didn't speak for, should we say, months on end, because the meeting was so big. They did exclude the public, which again, the Stones would be in such an important area, I think the public should be allowed into them meetings to listen. And on top of that, we did have one organisation that were trying to get their feet under the table, and they was on course to cost us quite a few £1,000s in regard to water pollution issues. I don't think at this stage we need this advisory group. Let's see what the Open Spaces Committee does, and then return to this at a future date if it's required. Thank you.
We've got Colin, Philip and Miles still to speak, and Clive. I'm going to need to go into the public session and Philip as well. Can we be as brief as we can? Keep it to a sentence or so. If possible.
To pick up on Councillor Ireland's statement about the Open Spaces Committee to be. The Open Spaces Committee terms of reference actually set to reserve the Anston Stones Group site space, scientific interest, local making and associated craftland in accordance with practice. And item Schedule 10 of the Open Spaces Committee says a subcommittee can be established and may appoint members who do not have voting rights who are not party councillors. But the terms of reference to such subcommittee have got to be approved by the full council. So the Open Spaces Committee is actually delegated to look after Anston Stones Wood amongst other areas we have, other open spaces. And I really can't see the need for a separate committee on
Philip, do you want to?
Much along the same lines, except that an advisory group subcommittee moves quicker and faster and can do things without waiting, basically, can move on at a faster pace. And I think it's a good idea to get the experts in town.
Okay. Miles?
I mean, I like the idea of this of non-councils as well, because the more residents that are involved in this, especially in something which everyone loves in this village, it makes us look more democratic. It gets more opinions in and more points of view, so we can make sure we're doing the right thing to move the village forward. So I'm a big believer of bringing non-councillors in to make us look more democratic. That's all I've got to say on that, so that's why I'm all for this.
Okay. Clive.
Just quickly, Chair, I was a member of that advisory group for, I don't know, 3-4 years, something like that. And we did have members of the public attended. There were people that walked through Anston Stones, lived in the village all their life and joined because they had an interest in maintaining it. One of the best things that group used to do was actually have its, I can't remember, we did maybe 6 months, every 3 months, we used to have a walk around designated areas of the land that we manage under the clerk's guidance, and we used to pick different areas up during the year so people got a flavour for what we were doing, what we were looking at, and we used to go on spend about 2.5 hours, if we could get fine weather, walking through the stones and all the other areas, and we got a lot of advice from Michael, who's well versed in that area. It used to be a really interesting group, and one of the people that did attended because they knew it was an ongoing group, but it would keep going rather than be called to attend it off chance like going as an open spaces one. This is the problem. I think you need to have some sort of continuity.
Regularity.
And also there are a lot of issues back at Rotherham Council, the biodiversity records, all the stuff from Anston Stones is fed into that, which is still maintained there. So it's a valuable source of information for the whole of the borough. And I've thought about this one, and I think I will support the starting of that, because I think it's important that we get that up and running, and it may be able to feed back in quicker to the other committee. How well it will work, I don't know, but I think we should give it a shot and see how well it performs. But it did perform a valuable function. We got input from people in the village that I didn't know some days. I lived in the village most of my life, but I was unaware of what was going down there, because you don't run on a regular basis, and you need these experts to tell you. And I think you would get more out of them if they were coming to a meeting like that to feed back to the Open Spaces Committee, but it stops them having to go to the Open Spaces Committee then, and it's a valuable conduit for information, I think. Thank you, Chair.
Final word from
Can I just remind you that about 2.5 years ago, we passed a resolution on council that we would form a group of wardens, volunteer wardens, for the Anston Stones. And that was passed that we would do that. And in fact, I know, for instance, that 5 names of people who regularly go down Stones committed themselves and said, I will do it. And we said, we'd probably just give them a jumper that says Anston Parish Council Warden. And they'd do it for free of charge, and they would take care of walking through regularly. Because now we're getting kids now taking trout out of the river.
And what happened?
Nothing's happened.
Can I just say,
Everything else.
it didn't come before council.
It came before council.
It did not come before council to have wardens doing the woods. And it was sent in an advisory, it was suggested in an advisory committee, so the council did not vote to have wardens in the woods. I'll show you. You're misleading people.
No,
again.
I'm not at all.
Still a good idea.
It came in.
No, you're misleading people again. Stop
Okay,
misleading
ladies and
people.
gents, can we-
It's not right.
There was quite a number of people, and they're all local people who lived in the village for years, and they were quite happy to take a road system to go up and down the stone. And I thought it was a good idea that it was shelved.
Yeah,
We should look at that
just
again.
contradicted yourself. You said it was shelved, yet you just told us that it was voted in a meeting. So you just misled us.
Yes, it was voted.
Okay, gents, I'm going to have to curtail your discussion there. Paul, were you about to move that we proceed to the vote?
Yes, he was.
Look, mine was just a quick reference on it. If the group is already there as an open spaces group, why not just negate this into it, carry on as it is, obviously open it up to these people. It's already in existence as a group, so why change the damn thing? Just open it and let people, if they want to attend it, go in and do whatever they want to do, whether they're experts, non-experts, people in the village or whatever. The group is there, why just waste time on this?
Jonathan, would you be happy? We need to go into public session.
Just one final word, but I think it's 72 acres, if I'm correct, maybe 78 acres. Huge area, and I think it deserves the respect that we should give it, and it's its own group to look after it, and we need to do that. And let democracy
Do you want to have to go to the vote now?
More rubbish.
Okay,
More rubbish. No
proposals
good. And
made.
he'll not do anything.
Proposals made. made?
He's just further in his
You
political
made a
career.
proposal,
Well, second then.
seconded by Miles. All those in favour?
You just went forward for it, didn't you?
Against? So it's a tie, it's an equality, Sorry? I think it's 6. Can you stick up your hands for against again? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 for, 6 against. 4 against, please, just to double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's an equality of votes, so the status quo remains. Okay, and
Could you explain to me, please, what does status quo mean in this case?
well, the status quo is we don't have a group, so
Rocking all over the
we're not
world.
going to create
Does that mean it's failed?
yeah, effectively,
It's failed. Okay.
Just in abeyance. Just in abeyance, yes.
Like everything else on this side of the
No.
Enough of them.
It's all in abeyance. Believe me, it's all
So we'll
in
go,
abeyance.
ladies and gentlemen, we'll go into public session, and then we've got the matter of the leaking rooms, both here and in the old library, that we need to tie up. When we go into confidential session, I think we'll get just in the confidential session, but we should at least get those items done. Public session, so we'll adjourn the meeting under item 13, and we'll go into the public session. That's to allow the public to raise any issues regarding today's meeting, to make brief comments on those issues regarding today's meeting. Can I ensure that this doesn't become a two-way dialogue between councillors and members of the public, that nobody shouts at anyone, that the atmosphere remains relatively cordial at all times, because otherwise we won't get through it in time. So it's 15:15, we'll go into it now. Questions from members of the public? So the lady on the front row, and then
The
take it.
meetings about the green, the biodiversity open spaces, will you be putting those up on the website?
Sorry, I didn't catch a word of that because of my ears. Can somebody give her a microphone?
There's got nothing in between.
Thank you.
Nice.
The meetings for the green, biodiversity open spaces, will that go onto the website? The agendas, the meetings?
Yeah, the meetings always go up to the website.
I've never been able to pick those up either.
I will admit that's never been on ever. It's never been on.
Notices always go on the notice boards, but they do go on our website, don't they? There are,
Can we, in this instance, because obviously it's a bit of a hot topic, can we ask that the clerk in this instance emails one of the members who've written in, just to let them know when it is, and hopefully pass it on to the others?
Could one of you nominate a spokesperson and then give me your email address and I'll let you know?
so Anna will, if you drop an email address to Anna, she'll email you with the,
thank you.
she'll email you with contact details. Brilliant. Kevin?
Well, the question is about green and that, really. I mean, this biodiversity group, which you've never met, can't even, and this council can't even make a decision on green, yet you're entrusting yourselves to make a decision on a triple SI site. And it seems to me that you've got no experience at all whatsoever in land management. You're not willing to take any advice. For instance, if I asked you here and asked you a question on water frame directive, what would your answer be? What are you doing on water frame directive?
We'd ask you, love.
No, you wouldn't tell me your answer.
Next week, we'd ask him.
But what would you do?
We'd ask an expert, Kevin. In this case, it might be you.
Right. Well, just for information I'll give you. The Water Framework Directive was brought to you by Environmental Agency.
To us.
I'm trying to give you some advice to you, that's what you said you need.
No, the council did.
Well, what I'm telling you is, there's been no work done on the river at all, which is part of
Right, stand up.
wasting time. See you send down.
Now I'm being abused.
See you send down. You are.
I'm now being abused by one of the parish council contractors.
I'm not a contractor. You haven't got a list. I'm not a contractor. I'm a member of the public.
And the thing is
Asking you a
again,
question.
all you councillors sat here not saying a word.
Here
It's
we
time
go.
some of you councillors either started standing up for the rules or start considering your position.
You know how
I'd like
to.
to say this. this part of the meeting is for members of the public.
To ask a question which I've asked.
And is interrupted.
No more interruptions from members of the public.
This part of the meeting is for members of the public to make comments on items we've discussed during the meeting.
Tell me what it is then.
No more interruptions from members of the public. We will ask you to leave.
You can ask me all you want. So if you ask a question, we've got to don't leave.
The purpose of this part of the meeting is for members of the public to make short comments on what we've discussed. It's not a public discussion scenario. And I'm afraid again, whether you councillors like it or not, we now have another interruption in our meeting, and you people are all sat there, and some of you are blaming me for causing the problem. I don't cause the problem, you cause the problem, because you sit there and allow members of the public, and it seems to be the same too, do it every single time. Then, I'm not talking about you, because you're one of the few people that do actually stand up and talk up about it.
Paul.
My answer to your question, it's not an answer to it. You're an expert on this. Why are you not on the open spaces, biodiversity? Why are you not part of it, or offering your services to the open spaces? I don't want an answer, that's what I'm just saying.
I'm going to answer you for, because I think it's only courteous that I do. I have offered my services.
This isn't an opportunity for...
I've offered my services. There's no provision for members of public to be on this committee.
No. I mean, what they've actually said is, it is an open committee.
They're not willing to take advice.
Do we have any other questions from members of the public?
Simple as.
Thank you. That's the end of the public session. I propose that we go to item 14 to resolve to exclude the press and public due to the confidential nature of the business to be transacted.
I propose that we now go into confidential session on the items notified before due to the confidential nature and the course of contraction.
Is that what you said?
John, you know, when we were talking about banging dogs on
All those in
the
favour? Confidential
are
session.
you aware
Okay, can we ask members of the
Toby
public and the
banged
press to leave?
dogs years ago? Didn't you know? Years ago.
So,
Make a note in your diary.
Yeah, okay.
just switch off the recording.
Is it gone?
No, no, let me just turn it on.
It wasn't better.